Loneliness. It is the heaviest weight the human heart can carry. You sit in a room full of people, yet feel like a stranger. You look at your phone, but no one truly understands you. You cry, but no one hears. But let me ask you something. Who created this silence? Who placed you in this moment? And most importantly, why? The answer is not in the world, the answer is in you. And in this moment of silence, God is speaking. When people leave, when friends betray, when life feels like an endless void, this is not punishment. It is preparation, it is not a curse, it is a calling. Because in your loneliness, God is not absent, He is waiting. He removes people so you can hear Him more clearly. He takes away distractions so you can feel His presence. The world will tell you you need someone, but God will tell you you only need me. True strength is built in solitude. Every great soul, every enlightened being, every person who has touched divinity has walked alone. Not because they were abandoned, but because they were chosen. Your loneliness is not an emptiness, it is an invitation. An invitation to go deeper, to grow stronger, to surrender fully. And when you do, you will realize you were never alone. God was always there, waiting for you to listen. Loneliness is not punishment, it is preparation. Yet, when you sit in a silent room with nothing but the echo of your own thoughts, it feels like suffering. It feels like rejection, like abandonment, like the world has turned its back on you. But what if I told you this is not the end? What if I told you this is the beginning of something greater? Look at the caterpillar. When it is forced into isolation, wrapped in darkness, unable to move, does it cry out? Why am I alone? No. It surrenders to the process. It does not fight the cocoon. It lets the transformation happen. And when the time is right, it breaks out, not as the creature that went in, but as something magnificent, a butterfly. Loneliness was never its punishment. It was its preparation for wings. Some of the greatest minds, the strongest warriors, the most enlightened souls have walked alone. Not because they were abandoned, but because they were being prepared. Preparation is not comfortable. The blacksmith does not shape the sword with soft hands and gentle whispers. He strikes it, he burns it, he bends it under intense heat. But why? Because only through fire can the blade become sharp enough to cut through anything. So you must ask yourself, are you being abandoned or are you being sharpened? A seed is buried underground, it is left in the cold, in the dark, surrounded by dirt. No one sees it, no one praises it, no one even knows it exists. But in that darkness something is happening, it is breaking open, it is growing. And one day that same seed will push through the soil and rise toward the sky as a mighty tree. The seed was not buried to die, it was buried to grow. When you feel lonely, remember this: God is not punishing you. He is planting you. Think about the moments when life isolated you, when friends walked away, when love left, when silence filled the space where laughter once lived. At that moment you thought you were being punished. You begged for people to stay, for circumstances to change. But what happened when you finally accepted the solitude? You grew, you became wiser, you became stronger, you learned how to stand on your own. There is a reason the lion walks alone while the sheep move in herds. The lion does not need company to validate its power. It knows its strength, it knows its worth, and it does not beg for acceptance. Now ask yourself, are you living like a lion or like a sheep? Many of you wonder why certain relationships ended, why people who once meant the world to you are no longer part of your story. But tell me, have you ever tried to take a flight while carrying excess baggage? You are stopped. You are told you must leave something behind if you want to go higher. Life works the same way. If God is trying to take you to higher places, He will not let you carry people who weigh you down. Your loneliness is not about loss. It is about elevation. A warrior is not made in the comfort of crowds. A warrior is made in solitude. Look at every great leader, every soul that changed history. They all walked alone before they found their true purpose. Buddha left his palace. Jesus went into the wilderness. The Prophet Muhammad meditated in the cave. Moses wandered the desert. These were not punishments. These were preparations for greatness. Now look at your own life. The moments of loneliness, the moments of silence, the nights when the world felt distant, these were your moments of transformation. You are not alone because you are forgotten. You are alone because you are being prepared to discover yourself, prepared to connect with something greater, prepared to rise. But the question is, will you embrace this silence or will you run from it? Will you see this solitude as suffering or will you recognize it as the foundation of your strength? Because if you truly understand this, you will never fear loneliness again. You will welcome it. You will see it as the cocoon before the flight, the fire before the sword, the darkness before the breakthrough. And when that moment comes, you will not ask, "Why am I alone?" You will whisper, "I am ready." You cry when they leave. You feel abandoned. You ask, "Why me? Why does everyone I love eventually walk away?" But have you ever stopped to ask, what if this is not a loss? What if this is protection? What if this is preparation? There are moments in life when people disappear without warning. A friend who suddenly grows distant. A lover who promises forever but leaves anyway. A family member who no longer understands you. And in that emptiness, you feel betrayed. But what if I told you this is not rejection, it is redirection? Imagine this. You are holding a glass filled with muddy water. The dirt is swirling, clouding everything inside. But if you let it sit still for a moment, the dirt settles and the water becomes clear. That is exactly what happens when the wrong people are removed from your life. God is clearing your vision. He is making space for clarity, for peace, for something greater. But you fight it. You cling to the very people who were meant to leave. What if I told you that sometimes the people you love the most are also the ones holding you back? You don't see it because love blinds you. You tolerate disrespect. You shrink yourself to fit into their world. You ignore the signs because you fear being alone. But God sees what you do not. He hears the conversations you never heard. He knows the betrayal before it reaches you. And so He removes them, not to hurt you, but to heal you. Have you ever seen a tree during autumn? The leaves turn golden, then brown, then they fall. The tree does not try to hold on to them. It does not cry for what is lost. It lets go because it knows that in letting go, it is making room for new life. Imagine if the tree refused to shed its dead leaves. There would be no space for spring, no room for growth. That is exactly what happens in your life. When people leave, stop chasing them. Their part in your story is over. Let them go and trust that something new will come. But you hold on, don't you? You hold on to memories, on to promises, on to the illusion that things can go back to the way they were. Let me ask you, have you ever tried holding on to a rope that is being pulled away from you? The tighter you grip, the more it burns your hands. The pain is not in the letting go, the pain is in the resistance. The hardest truth to accept is that not everyone who walks into your life is meant to stay. Some people come to teach you lessons, others come to test you, and some come as distractions. But when God sees that someone is delaying your growth, disturbing your peace, or pulling you away from your purpose, He will remove them. And when that happens, do not cry over closed doors. Do not beg for them to return. Because when God takes something away, He is making space for something far greater. Think about it. Have you ever lost a friend and later realized they were never truly loyal? Have you ever been left by someone you love, only to later meet someone who treated you even better? Have you ever felt broken over an ending, only to later find peace in the very solitude you once feared? This is proof. proof that every loss is not a punishment. It is protection. Look at the eagle. When it senses that its baby is ready to fly, it starts to remove the soft feathers from the nest. The baby eagle feels uncomfortable, restless. It does not understand why the warmth is being taken away, but the mother knows. If the nest remains too comfortable, the eagle will never spread its wings. That discomfort is what forces it to fly. Some of you are still crying over the people who left. You don't see that they were the weight keeping you from soaring. Imagine a boat filled with too much weight. The heavier it is, the harder it becomes to move forward. Now, imagine if the boat is caught in a storm. If it doesn't let go of unnecessary weight, it will sink. Your life works the same way. If you carry people who no longer serve your purpose, who drain your energy, who do not align with your journey, you will sink under the weight of what is no longer meant for you. God removes people not to break you, but to build you. He closes doors not to punish you, but to protect you. He isolates you but to prepare you for something greater. Yet you keep knocking on doors that are already locked. You keep chasing people who are already gone. Have you ever wondered why you feel lighter when certain people leave? That is not a coincidence. That is freedom. There is a story of a farmer who found a wounded snake. He took it in, fed it, cared for it, and nursed it back to health. One day the snake bit him. As he lay dying, he asked, "Why did you bite me after everything I did for you?" The snake simply replied, "You knew I was a snake when you picked me up." Some of you are holding on to people who have already shown you their true nature. God saw what you refused to see, so He removed them. But instead of thanking Him, you are trying to bring them back. Look at your life. Look at who is still standing beside you and who has walked away. Stop mourning the ones who left. If they were meant for your journey, they would still be here. Some people are only part of your story for a season, but you are trying to make them permanent. You ask for strength, and God sends trials to make you stronger. You ask for wisdom, and God removes distractions so you can focus. You ask for peace, and God takes away the people who disturb your soul. But you don't recognize His hand at work. When you find yourself alone, do not question His plan. Do not fear the emptiness. Because sometimes God has to clear the room before He speaks. The world is loud, voices everywhere, opinions, distractions, expectations, all fighting for your attention. You wake up to notifications, messages, deadlines, and responsibilities pulling you in 100 directions. The noise never stops. But have you ever noticed that when life becomes overwhelming, when everything starts to collapse, there is a moment when silence takes over? That silence is not emptiness. It is not loneliness. It is not punishment. That silence is where God speaks the loudest. Most people fear silence. They run from it. They fill their days with meaningless conversations, with background noise, with constant stimulation because they are terrified of being alone with their own thoughts. But what if silence was never meant to be scary? What if silence was the very thing you needed? Think about the ocean. When the waves crash, when the storm rages, you cannot see anything beneath the surface. Everything is chaotic. But when the water is still, suddenly you can see what lies below. Your life works the same way. When you are drowning in noise, you cannot hear what truly matters. But when everything becomes quiet, that is when truth is revealed. Imagine you are in a dark room with a small candle. The moment people start talking, moving around, the wind from their movements makes the flame flicker, struggle, and eventually die out. But when everything is still, the flame stands tall, steady, unshaken. That flame is your inner wisdom. That flame is the voice of God, but you will never hear it if you keep running toward noise. Have you ever tried listening to a song while 5 different people are talking to you at the same time? You can't focus. You hear bits and pieces, but nothing makes sense. That is exactly what happens when you beg for answers, when you ask for clarity, but you refuse to embrace silence. But you are too distracted to receive it. The greatest wisdom comes in stillness. Even in nature, The most powerful moments happen in silence. A seed grows beneath the soil without a sound. The sun rises every morning without announcing itself. The stars shine in the sky without making noise. Silence is not absence, silence is presence. Look at the strongest people around you, the ones who do not react to everything, the ones who do not waste words proving themselves, the ones who walk away from meaningless arguments. They have mastered silence. They have understood that not every battle needs to be fought with words. Have you ever noticed that the wisest elders, the most powerful leaders do not speak unless necessary? Their presence alone demands attention. That is because silence holds power. Silence forces people to listen. Silence makes room for understanding. Think about the moments in your life when you felt truly at peace. It was not when you were surrounded by chaos. It was not when you were fighting to be heard. It was in those quiet moments when you were alone with your thoughts, when you sat under the stars, when you closed your eyes and just breathed. But society teaches you that silence is something to be feared. If you are quiet, people think something is wrong. If you take time for yourself, they assume you are weak. But the truth is, silence is where strength is born. Imagine a sculptor working on a masterpiece. Every hammer strike, every chisel against the stone is done in silence. The beauty is not created in noise, it is created in stillness, in patience, in focus. You are that masterpiece. But if you never allow yourself to sit in silence, how can you be shaped? The reason most people never find clarity, never discover themselves, never truly hear God is because they are afraid of what silence will reveal. In noise, you can distract yourself. In chaos, you can avoid your emotions. But in silence, there is nowhere to hide. You keep asking for answers, but you won't sit still long enough to hear them. You ask why life feels confusing, but you drown yourself in distractions instead of embracing stillness. Think of the eye of a storm. Everything around it is destruction, winds howling, chaos tearing things apart. But right in the center, in the heart of the storm, there is perfect silence. That is where true peace is found. Not in running, not in resisting, but in surrendering to the stillness. When someone angers you, your first instinct is to react, to fight back, to prove your point. But have you ever tried responding with silence? The moment you stop engaging, you take away their power. That is why silence is dangerous to those who seek control over you. They cannot manipulate what they cannot influence. Have you ever noticed that after a loud argument, after all the shouting, after all the chaos, there is a moment when both people fall silent? That silence is where truth lives. That silence is when reflection happens. That silence is more powerful than 1,000 words. The most profound moments in life are wrapped in silence. When a mother holds her newborn for the first time, she does not need to say anything. When two people in love share a deep connection, words are not necessary. When someone you love passes away, no words can fill the void. Silence carries the greatest truths. You pray for peace, but you avoid silence, the very place where peace is found. You pray for wisdom, but you never stop talking long enough to listen. You ask for signs, but you are too distracted to notice them. Even when you look at history, the greatest lessons were taught not in loud moments, but in quiet ones. The monk sitting in deep meditation, the warrior waiting for the perfect moment to strike, the writer alone with a blank page before inspiration flows. If you want to hear God, stop looking for Him in noise. Stop searching for Him in constant movement, in endless distractions, in the voices of the world. He is waiting for you in the silence. But you must be willing to sit with it, to embrace it, to let it transform you. There comes a time in life when you feel like no one understands you. You look around and suddenly the people who once stood beside you have disappeared. The phone stops ringing, the messages grow fewer, and the presence of others that once gave you comfort fades into silence. Loneliness creeps in like an uninvited guest, making you question your worth, your existence, your purpose. And in that moment, your instinct tells you to seek the world, to search for company, for validation, for anything to fill that void. But the truth is, the world cannot fill what only the divine can. You scroll through social media, hoping to distract yourself. You surround yourself with people thinking that their presence will erase the emptiness you feel inside. But the more you chase the world, the more exhausted you become. It is like drinking salty water to quench your thirst. The more you consume, the thirstier you feel. You see, the world was never designed to complete you. People will come and go. Their opinions will change. Their love may be conditional. But the divine is unshaken. The divine does not abandon you when the lights go out, when the applause fades, when the crowd disappears. Look at a tree standing tall in the storm. The winds try to break it, the rain tries to drown it, yet it remains unmoved. You know why? Because its roots are deep. It does not seek stability from the passing winds. It does not rely on the weather to validate its strength. It is grounded in something greater. That is how you must be. If your sense of self is tied to the world, you will sway with every change, break with every rejection, and collapse with every disappointment. But if your roots are deep in the divine, nothing can shake you. Have you ever sat alone in a crowded place, among hundreds of people, yet feeling completely invisible? That is because loneliness has nothing to do with how many people are around you. It has everything to do with your connection to yourself, to your purpose, to the divine. You can be alone and still be full. You can walk alone and still feel complete, because true fulfillment is not found in the company of others. It is found in alignment with something greater than yourself. Think of the stars. They shine in the vast emptiness of space, surrounded by darkness. Yet they do not complain. They do not beg the sun to stay. They embrace the night, because they know their light is enough. You are the same. Your light does not come from the world. It comes from within. But you will never see it if you are too busy chasing after others to validate your existence. Many people believe that loneliness is a curse. But what if loneliness was a divine invitation? What if this moment of isolation was never meant to break you, but to awaken you? When you are alone, the distractions fade, the noise quiets down, and in that stillness, you have a chance to meet yourself. You have a chance to hear the voice of the divine, whispering truths that the noise of the world has drowned out for too long. A caterpillar does not become a butterfly in the crowd. It does not transform while being surrounded by the world's attention. It wraps itself in solitude, in complete darkness, in a cocoon where everything it once was begins to dissolve. And in that isolation, it transforms into something greater than it ever imagined. If you are feeling alone, perhaps you are not being abandoned. Perhaps you are being transformed. You have spent too much time seeking love, validation and purpose in places that were never meant to hold them. You have knocked on doors that were never meant to open. You have chased after people who were never meant to stay. And now the divine is asking you to stop running, to stop looking outside and start looking within. Have you ever noticed that some of the strongest people you admire have walked through seasons of loneliness? They have faced rejection, betrayal and isolation, but instead of letting it destroy them, they let it refine them. They use their solitude to grow, to heal, to connect with something deeper than human approval. And when they emerged, they carried a strength that the world could not shake. When you feel alone, do not seek temporary comfort, do not lower your standards just to feel included. Do not beg for attention from those who do not see your worth. Instead, seek the divine. Seek the wisdom that has been waiting for you in the silence. Seek the purpose that is unfolding in your solitude. Seek the love that does not waver, that does not depend on conditions, that does not disappear when life becomes difficult. Think of the mountain climber. He does not reach the peak by staying in the crowd. He does not find his strength in the voices of others. The real journey happens when he is alone, one step at a time, pushing through the cold, the fatigue, the self-doubt. And when he finally reaches the top, when he stands above the clouds, looking at the world below, he understands it was preparation, it was alignment, it was exactly what he needed to rise. The divine does not take things away to punish you. The divine does not isolate you to make you suffer. The divine removes the unnecessary, the distractions, the illusions, so that you can finally see clearly, so that you can find what truly matters, so that you can stop settling for less than what you deserve. Stop chasing the world to fill the emptiness inside you. The world is temporary. People change. Attention fades. But the divine remains, and if you seek it, if you embrace it, you will never feel alone again. The world is noisy. Everywhere you turn, there is a voice telling you what to do, who to be, and how to live. The opinions of the crowd flood your mind, and without realizing it, you become a product of everything you hear. You start making decisions not based on what you truly believe, but on what others expect of you. You chase dreams that are not even yours. You seek approval from people who do not even understand themselves. And in that endless race to fit in, you lose the one thing that matters most, yourself. Have you ever noticed how people who speak the loudest often have the least to say? How those who constantly seek attention are the ones most afraid of being alone? The crowd is full of noise, but rarely is it full of wisdom. The world will tell you that you need more friends, more followers, more validation. But wisdom does not grow in noise, it grows in solitude. Look at the greatest minds in history. The ones who changed the world did not follow the crowd. They stepped away from it. They sought silence, reflection, and deep thought. Albert Einstein, Nikola Tesla, Buddha, Jesus, none of them found wisdom in the noise of the masses. They found it in solitude. They did not fear being alone because they understood that true clarity comes when the world is silent. Imagine standing in a river during a storm. The water is wild, chaotic, pulling you in every direction. You try to see what's beneath the surface, but the turbulence makes it impossible. This is what life feels like when you are constantly surrounded by noise, opinions, and distractions. But when the storm passes and the water becomes still, suddenly everything becomes clear. You can see the rocks, the depth, the beauty beneath. This is what solitude does to the mind. It stills the storm. It reveals the truth that the noise was hiding all along. Think about the times you have been confused, lost, or uncertain. Did the advice of the crowd ever truly help? Or did it only add to your confusion? Everyone has an opinion, but very few have wisdom. The crowd will tell you what is popular, not what is right. It will push you toward comfort, not growth. It will encourage you to follow, not to lead. But the greatest lessons, the deepest insights, the most profound transformations, they happen in silence, in solitude, in the moments when you step away from the distractions and look within. A lion does not seek wisdom from a herd of sheep. It does not follow the crowd hoping to find strength. It walks alone, confident in its path. It does not need validation. It does not fear solitude. And that is why it is the king of the jungle. Too many people fear being alone because they do not know themselves. They have spent their entire lives absorbing the thoughts of others, so when the noise stops, they panic. But solitude is not loneliness. Solitude is where you meet yourself. It is where you hear your own voice, not the voice of the world. It is where you find wisdom. Look at the mountains. The tallest peaks do not rise in crowded cities. They stand alone, above the noise, untouched by the chaos below. That is the secret of wisdom. It is found in the heights of solitude, not in the valleys of the crowd. When you climb higher, when you detach from the need for constant validation, you begin to see life differently. You begin to understand things that others do not. Because while they are busy listening to the noise, you are hearing the truth. The most dangerous thing you can do in life is allow the crowd to think for you. When you always rely on others to guide your path, you never develop the strength to walk on your own. You become dependent, easily influenced and fragile. But when you embrace solitude, you become unshakable. You develop an inner voice that is stronger than any external noise. You learn to trust yourself, to think deeply, to see beyond the illusions that most people accept as reality. Have you ever noticed how some of the happiest people are those who do not constantly seek attention? They are content in their own company. They do not chase validation because they already know their worth. And then there are those who are always surrounded by people, yet they feel empty. They keep seeking more noise, more distractions, because they are afraid of what they might find in silence. But the truth is, the more you run from solitude, the further you run from wisdom. Imagine a sculptor working on a masterpiece. He does not create in a crowded marketplace, surrounded by distractions. He works in solitude, carefully shaping each detail. He needs silence to focus, to see clearly, to bring his vision to life. Your mind is the same. If you want to shape your destiny, if you want to discover your purpose, you must step away from the noise. You must create space for deep thought, for self-discovery, for the wisdom that can only be found in silence. When a seed is planted, it does not grow in a crowded, chaotic space. It is buried alone in the darkness, where it is time to develop strong roots. And only when it is ready does it rise toward the light. Your growth works the same way. You do not need constant noise, constant company, constant approval. You need stillness, you need patience, you need solitude to grow into the person you are meant to be. The crowd will always try to pull you in. It will tempt you with distractions, with shallow pleasures, with the illusion of belonging. But if you want true wisdom, you must have the courage to step away, to embrace the silence, to seek understanding, not just noise, to listen not just to what the world is saying, but to what your soul is whispering. Life does not break you, it shapes you. Every hardship, every trial, every storm you endure is not meant to destroy you, but to refine you into something greater. When you are tested, it is not because you are weak. It is because you are strong enough to handle it. The fire that melts wax is the same fire that hardens steel. What you go through is not designed to shatter you. It is designed to awaken the unshakable strength within you. Think about a sword. Before it becomes a weapon of power, it is just a rough piece of metal. It must go through fire, be hammered, shaped, and sharpened before it becomes something mighty. Without the fire, without the hammering, it remains ordinary. But through the test, through the trial, it transforms into something unstoppable. The same is true for you. Every difficulty you face is forging you into the person you were meant to be. The fire is not punishment, it is preparation. Have you ever seen a seed grow? It is buried in darkness, surrounded by soil, with no light, no sign of what is to come. It must break apart from within before it can push through the dirt and rise toward the sun. But without the darkness, without that struggle, it would never grow. Your challenges are not burying you, they are planting you. What feels like the end is actually the beginning of something greater. When a sculptor creates a masterpiece, he does not leave the stone untouched. He chisels away at it, striking it repeatedly, removing everything that does not belong. Each strike, each cut may seem harsh, but it is shaping the stone into something extraordinary. Without the sculptor's chisel, it would remain a lifeless rock. The difficulties in your life are not random. They are removing the parts of you that no longer serve your higher purpose. Every challenge is shaping you into something magnificent. Look at gold. When it is first mined, it is mixed with impurities, rough and unrefined. To become pure, it must go through fire. The heat burns away everything that is not gold, leaving only what is valuable. If gold could feel, it would resist the fire. It would cry out, "Why must I suffer?" But without the fire, it would never realize its true worth. Your trials are that fire. They are burning away your doubts, your fears, your weaknesses, so that only the strongest, purest version of you remains. When you face struggles, it is easy to think that you are being punished, that life is unfair, that God has abandoned you. But the truth is, you are being prepared for something greater. Every setback, every disappointment, every painful experience is part of a grand design. A student does not take a test to be punished, but to be proven ready for the next level. Life works the same way. You are being tested not because you are weak, but because you are strong enough to rise higher. Think about the story of the butterfly. Before it can spread its wings, it must struggle to break free from its cocoon. If someone were to help it escape too soon, it would never develop the strength it needs to fly. The struggle is necessary, it is what makes the wings strong. The same is true for you. If everything came easily, if there were no struggles, no hardships, you would never develop the strength to rise. What feels like suffering is actually the making of your wings. A diamond does not begin as something beautiful. It starts as a piece of coal, black and ordinary. But through immense pressure, through time and hardship, it transforms into something rare and priceless. If coal had a voice, it might say, "Why am I under such pressure? Why is everything so difficult?" But without that pressure, it would never become a diamond. Your trials are the pressure that is shaping you into something far more powerful than you can imagine. Imagine a storm. It comes with force, with chaos, tearing through everything in its path. But after the storm, the air is clearer, the earth is refreshed, and new life begins to grow. The storms in your life are not there to destroy you. They are there to clear the path for something new. Sometimes the things you are holding on to, comfort, familiarity, even certain people, must be removed so you can grow into the person you are meant to be. The storm is not your enemy, it is your transformation. An eagle does not learn to fly by staying in the nest. The mother eagle pushes her young out, forcing them to spread their wings. The fall may seem terrifying, but it is the only way they discover their strength. The struggles you face are pushing you out of your comfort zone, forcing you to rise higher than you ever thought possible. Without them, you would never realize your true power. The greatest warriors are not made in times of peace. They are forged in battle. They are trained through struggle. They are tested through pain. If life is challenging you, it is because you are being prepared for something greater. The question is not why is this happening to me, but what is this preparing me for? Pain and loneliness are not punishments, they are teachers. They come into your life not to break you, but to reveal something deeper within you. Every wound carries a lesson, every silent night holds a message, and every tear has wisdom hidden within it. The problem is most people run from them. They seek distractions, temporary escapes, anything to avoid facing the discomfort. But growth is not found in escape, it is found in endurance. Think of a tree standing alone in the middle of a barren land. It has no shelter from the wind, no protection from the storm. It endures scorching heat and freezing cold, yet because of this, its roots grow deep, its trunk grows stronger, and it becomes unshakable. Had it been surrounded by comfort, it would have never developed the strength to stand tall. Pain and loneliness are the winds that make you unshakable. Imagine a person who has never faced rejection, never experienced loss, never been forced to sit in silence and listen to their own thoughts. They may seem happy on the surface, but deep down they are fragile. The moment life tests them, they crumble. But someone who has walked through fire, who has been left alone with nothing but their own reflection, who has felt the weight of pain pressing against their soul, they emerge different. They are no longer afraid of loss because they have faced it and survived. They are no longer desperate for company because they have found peace within themselves. A sword is not made in comfort. It is forged in fire, beaten and shaped with relentless force. The more pressure it endures, the sharper it becomes. Your pain is that fire. Your loneliness is that hammer. You are not being broken, you are being sharpened. The question is, will you let the fire transform you, or will you resist it and remain dull? Look at the greatest minds in history. The philosophers, the poets, the visionaries, many of them spent years in solitude, away from the noise of the world. Why? Because in silence, truth is heard. In loneliness, clarity is found. The constant chatter of the world is a distraction. It tells you who you should be, what you should want, and how you should live. But when you are alone, truly alone, you start to hear a different voice. The voice of your soul, the voice of wisdom, the voice of something greater than yourself. Consider the story of a caterpillar. It spends its early life crawling, limited in movement, confined to the ground. Then, one day, it isolates itself inside a cocoon, cut off from the world, trapped in darkness. To an outsider, it may seem lifeless, but inside, transformation is happening. The struggle to break free is what gives it the strength to fly. If someone were to cut the cocoon open too soon, thinking they were helping, the butterfly would never develop the wings to soar. Your loneliness is your cocoon. It is not a prison. It is a transformation. A person who has never felt pain will never understand healing. A person who has never been alone will never understand the value of true connection. Think of an artist. Before they can create a masterpiece, they must first sit alone with their thoughts, their emotions, their struggles. If they are constantly surrounded by noise, their work remains shallow. The depth of their creation comes from the depth of their solitude. Your pain is painting a masterpiece within you. Your loneliness is scarring something deeper in your soul. Have you ever noticed how the strongest people are often the ones who have suffered the most? It is not because they were lucky or because they had an easier path. It is because they embraced their pain instead of running from it. They sat with their loneliness instead of fearing it. They let it teach them, shape them, refine them. They walked through their struggles not with resentment but with curiosity, asking, what is this teaching me? How is this making me stronger? There is a reason why monks retreat into the mountains, why saints spend years in solitude, why warriors train in isolation before they step onto the battlefield. It is because strength is not built in the crowd, it is built in the quiet. It is built in the moments when no one is watching, when you are left with nothing but your own thoughts. Most people are terrified of this silence. They distract themselves with entertainment, with social validation, with meaningless pursuits. But those who are brave enough to sit in it, to embrace it, to learn from it, they emerge unshakable. The storm that shakes the weak only strengthens the strong. The darkness that blinds the fearful gives sight to those who embrace it. The pain that drowns some becomes fuel for others. It is not the suffering itself that makes you stronger, it is what you do with it. Do you let it define you or do you let it refine you? Do you run from it or do you rise because of it? The choice is yours. There are moments in life when you feel like the whole world has turned its back on you. The people you once trusted disappear. The ones you love misunderstand you, and the weight of loneliness presses against your chest like an unbearable storm. You look around and there is no one, no friend to confide in, no comforting voice to reassure you, no hand to hold. And in those moments you start to believe you are truly alone. But that is the greatest illusion of all. A child lost in a crowd cries out, searching desperately for their mother. In their little world they believe they have been abandoned. They panic, they fear, but all along the mother is there, just a few steps away, watching over them, waiting for them to turn around and see that they were never truly lost. That is how the divine watches over you. You may feel abandoned, but you are being observed with infinite love. You may feel forsaken, but you are being guided in silence. You are never truly alone. The presence of something greater is always with you. Think about the darkest nights of your life, the moments when everything seemed to fall apart, the heartbreaks, the failures, the betrayals. You questioned why me, you begged for relief, and yet somehow you survived. The pain that once seemed unbearable became a memory. The struggle that felt impossible turned into strength. Who carried you through it? Who gave you the strength to endure? It wasn't luck, it wasn't just time, it was the unseen presence that never left your side, even when you couldn't feel it. A seed buried underground might believe it has been abandoned in darkness. It is cold, isolated, covered in dirt. But what it does not realize is that this darkness is where transformation begins. The soil is not its prison, it is its protection. The roots start to form, the foundation grows strong, and one day, when the time is right, it breaks through the ground and reaches toward the light. Your loneliness is not your burial, it is your becoming. The divine has not forgotten you, it is preparing you. Have you ever stood at the edge of the ocean and watched the waves crash against the shore? The tide rises and falls, sometimes gentle, sometimes fierce, but no matter how far the waves seem to pull away, they always return. That is how the presence of the divine moves in your life. Sometimes it feels close, undeniable, embracing you like the warmth of the sun. Other times it feels distant, as if it has retreated beyond your reach. But just like the waves, it never truly leaves. It is always in motion, always present, always returning when you are ready to receive it. A person climbing a mountain does not see their guide walking beside them. The guide stays behind, watching every step, making sure they do not fall. Sometimes they allow the climber to struggle, to slip, to find their own balance. But they never let them plummet. They're always there, unseen yet vigilant. That is how the divine walks with you. It allows you to grow through your struggles, to find your strength, but it never lets you fall beyond what you can endure. You may look at others and think they have people, they have support, they are not alone like I am. But loneliness is not measured by the number of people around you. It is measured by the depth of your connection to something greater. There are people who are surrounded by friends yet feel empty. And there are those who sit alone in silence, yet feel completely whole. The difference is not in company, it is in connection. When you connect with the divine, you can sit in solitude and feel more fulfilled than someone lost in the noise of the world. A candle in a dark room does not panic. Because it is alone, it knows its purpose is to shine. It does not cry out for other candles to join it. It simply burns, and in doing so it brings light to everything around it. That is your power. Even in your moments of loneliness, you are still a source of light. Even when you feel unseen, your presence matters. The divine placed you here with a purpose, and it walks with you through every moment, even the ones that feel unbearable. The presence of something greater is not always felt in grand miracles or loud revelations. Sometimes it is in the smallest things. The way the morning sun touches your face after a long night, the way a stranger's kindness lifts your spirit on a difficult day, the way an unexpected answer comes just when you need it. These are not coincidences, these are whispers of the divine, reminding you that you are never alone. A person lost in the desert sees only endless sand and emptiness, but beneath that sand, hidden from sight, there are deep wells of water. The fact that you cannot see something does not mean it is not there. The divine presence in your life is like that hidden water, always there, always sustaining you even when you do not perceive it. When you feel alone, when you feel abandoned, when you feel like no one in this world understands you, remember, your cries are heard, your struggles are seen, and your existence is never unnoticed. A traveler walking through the forest at night has two choices, either to fear the darkness and stop moving, or to trust the path and keep walking. Life is no different. You will not always see where the road leads, but you are not meant to. Your soul journey is not meant to be walked with fear, hesitation or doubt. It is meant to be walked with faith, with the knowing that something greater is guiding you, even when the way is unclear. A child learning to walk does not fear falling, they take one step, stumble, and get back up. They do not stop to question whether they are capable of walking. They simply trust the process. But as we grow older, we start to doubt our own steps. We fear failure, we fear the unknown, we fear what we cannot control. But the truth is, the greatest journeys are not taken by those who see the whole path ahead. They are taken by those who have the courage to take one step at a time, even in uncertainty. Imagine a bird perched on a weak branch. It does not fear the branch breaking because its trust is not in the branch. It is in its own wings. Your faith should not be in the stability of your surroundings, in people or in circumstance. Your faith should be in something greater, in the divine that has given you the wings to rise above any challenge. When you place your faith in external things, you will always live in fear. But when you place your faith in the divine, you will walk through life knowing that even if everything crumbles around you, you will still be able to fly. A person lost in a vast desert might feel helpless, believing there is no way out. They could sit down in despair, paralyzed by fear. But the ones who survive do not give in to fear. They trust that if they keep walking, if they keep moving forward, they will find their way. Fear traps you where you are. Faith moves you forward. Fear tells you to stop, to turn back, to give up. Faith tells you to take one more step, to believe in the unseen, to trust that even in the emptiness, there is a destination waiting for you. Think of a sculptor chiseling away at a block of stone. Each strike of the hammer removes a piece of what is unnecessary, revealing something greater beneath. If the stone had fear, it would resist, it would try to hold on to what it was. But the sculptor sees beyond what the stone can see. He knows what it is meant to become. In life, every hardship, every challenge, every loss is a chisel in the hands of the divine. If you live in fear, you will resist, you will question, you will fight against the process. But if you live in faith, you will trust that every cut, every trial is shaping you into what you are meant to be. A river does not stop flowing because there is a rock in its way. It does not sit in fear, wondering if it should turn back. It simply finds another path, it flows over, around, or through whatever stands before it. That is what faith looks like. Fear makes you think that one obstacle is the end, that one failure means defeat. But faith knows that even if one door closes, another will open. Even if one way seems blocked, another path will reveal itself. You are not meant to stop when life places obstacles in your way. You are meant to find a way through. A farmer does not dig up the seeds he planted just because he does not see results overnight. He trusts the process. He knows that under the soil something is happening, the roots are forming, the growth is taking place, even though it is unseen. Fear makes you question whether what you are doing is working. It makes you doubt your journey, your progress, your purpose. But faith reminds you that just because you cannot see the growth does not mean it is not happening. The divine is always working, even in silence. A person afraid of drowning will never learn how to swim. They will cling to the shore, never experiencing the depth of the ocean. But the ones who trust, who let go of fear and step into the water, they discover that they are capable of floating, of swimming, of moving with the waves, rather than against them. Life will throw you into deep waters. Faith will remind you that you will sink. Faith will remind you that you were meant to swim. A blindfolded person walking through an unfamiliar place might hesitate, afraid of what they cannot see. But if someone they trust holds their hand and leads them, they walk without fear. This is what walking with faith looks like. You may not always see what is ahead, but the divine holds your hand. Fear will keep you frozen in place, but faith will allow you to move forward, trusting that you are being led exactly where you need to be. A candle does not fear the darkness because it knows its purpose is to shine. If it lived in fear, it would refuse to be lit, afraid of burning out. but a candle exists to give light, to push away the darkness, to serve its purpose without hesitation. You were not placed on this journey to hide in fear. You were placed here to walk boldly, to embrace the unknown, to trust that every step, every challenge, every moment of uncertainty is part of something greater. Fear keeps you small. Faith makes you limitless. A person sitting alone in an empty room often feels the weight of silence pressing against them. The mind begins to ask, why am I alone? Why is no one here? Why has life left me in this emptiness? But what if, instead of drowning in these questions, you shifted your perspective? What if, instead of asking, why am I alone, you asked, what is God teaching me in this moment? Imagine a potter shaping clay on a wheel. The clay does not understand why it is being stretched, pressed, and spun round endlessly. But the potter has a vision. He knows that to create something strong, beautiful, and purposeful, the clay must go through the process. In the same way, your solitude is not a punishment, it is not emptiness. It is a process of molding, of refinement. God is shaping you, strengthening you, making you into something greater than you can currently see. A seed buried in the soil does not ask, why am I underground? Why am I alone in the dark? It simply allows itself to grow. It does not fight the process, it embraces it. What seems like isolation is actually preparation. The roots are forming, the strength is building, and in time, it will break through the surface and touch the sunlight. If the seed were impatient, if it were afraid of the darkness, it would never bloom into the tree it was meant to be. Your loneliness is not a curse, it is the soil in which your soul grows. A warrior does not become strong by sitting in comfort. They do not gain skill by avoiding the battle. They train in solitude. They face themselves in silence. They prepare in the absence of applause, in the stillness of discipline. Your loneliness is your training ground. It is where your mind is sharpened, where your heart is tested, where your soul is strengthened. Do not resist this time, embrace it. Learn from it. Allow it to make you into something unshakable. A sculptor does not reveal their masterpiece in the presence of others. They work on it in private, in stillness, chiseling away the unnecessary parts. In the same way, God is working on you in moments when no one else is watching. He is removing the distractions, the attachments, the things that are not meant for you. If you are alone, perhaps it is because there is a transformation happening within you. One that requires silence, one that requires time. The world may not see it now, but when the work is done, you will step forward as something stronger, something wiser, something more powerful than before. A person lost in the wilderness can either sit in fear or use the time to sharpen their instincts, to learn how to survive, to discover their inner strength. Some people see loneliness as a prison, but the wise see it as a classroom. They use it to read, to think, to grow, to connect with something higher than themselves. The world distracts you with noise, but solitude brings clarity. What is God showing you in this silence? What lessons are hidden in this moment? If you listen closely, you will hear them. A river does not flow in straight lines. It twists, turns, carves new paths. If it meets an obstacle, it does not stop, it finds another way. Your journey is the same. You may have expected certain people to stay, certain plans to work out, but when they don't, do not sit and ask, why? Instead ask, where is this taking me? What new path am I meant to discover? When something is removed from your life, it is because something greater is waiting ahead. Trust that. A diamond is formed under intense pressure. Without that pressure, it would remain just another piece of coal. If you are feeling the weight of solitude, if you feel as though life is pressing against you, understand that this is not to destroy you, it is to transform you. You are not being broken, you are being refined. What is God trying to strengthen in you? Is it patience? Is it resilience? Is it self-love? Pay attention. Every difficult moment is a lesson in disguise. A lighthouse does not depend on the presence of ships to shine. It does not ask, who is watching? It simply stands steady and bright, because that is its purpose. Your purpose is not dependent on who is around you. It is not defined by how many people are in your life. You are here to grow, to rise, to become who you were meant to be, whether or not anyone is watching. This moment of solitude is your time to reconnect with your purpose, to remember who you are when no one else is there to define you. A person who always relies on the voices of others never hears their own. In loneliness, you are given the rare gift of self-discovery. You are given time to understand your own heart, your own thoughts, your own dreams. This is not a punishment. It is a privilege. Most people spend their entire lives avoiding themselves. They fill their days with distractions, with noise, with constant movement, so they never have to face their true selves. But you have been given a moment of silence. Do not waste it. Use it to listen, use it to grow, use it to understand what the divine is whispering to your soul. There comes a time in life when you stand alone, looking at the road ahead, uncertain of where it leads. The silence around you feels deafening. The emptiness makes you question everything. But remember this, great things are never born in comfort. Diamonds don't form without pressure. Gold is not pure until it has passed through fire. And the strongest souls are not shaped in crowds but in solitude. You are not abandoned, you are being elevated. When God strips away the noise, the distractions, the people who no longer serve your journey, it is because He is making space for something greater. A tree does not cry when its leaves fall. It understands that this is a season of change. The mountain does not apologize for standing alone. It knows its strength is in its solitude. So why do you fear being alone? Why do you resist the very process that is designed to awaken the power within you? The world has conditioned you to believe that being alone is a sign of failure, that if you are not surrounded by people, not constantly validated, something must be wrong. But the truth is, the most powerful transformations happen in silence. The greatest revolutions begin in solitude. The caterpillar enters the cocoon alone, unseen, forgotten. But when it emerges, it doesn't just walk, it flies. Stop asking why things are happening to you and start asking what they are preparing you for. Every setback, every closed door, every moment of solitude is not here to break you, it is here to build you. The warrior trains alone before stepping onto the battlefield. The storm clears the path before the sun rises, and the darkest night always comes before the dawn. If you feel like you are standing in darkness, do not be afraid, because what follows is transformation. Silence is not empty, it is full of answers. You must learn to listen, to sit with yourself, to embrace the stillness. Do you know why the ocean is so powerful? Because it does not need validation to exist. It roars in its own strength, it moves in its own rhythm, it does not ask the world for permission to be powerful, it simply is. Be like the ocean, be like the sun that rises without waiting for applause, be like the wind that moves with certainty, never questioning its own path. The people who left, the plans that failed, the doors that closed, none of it was a mistake. God removes what does not serve you. He does not take away to punish you, He takes away to prepare you. You were asking for strength, so He gave you challenges. You were asking for wisdom, so He gave you solitude. You were asking for love, so He taught you to find it within yourself first. Do you see now? Nothing was ever happening to you, it was happening for you. There is power in standing alone. There is greatness in walking a path that others do not understand. Because when you stop chasing people, when you stop looking outside for fulfillment, you finally realize something. Everything you were searching for has always been within you. You are not alone, you never were. The divine has been with you in every step, in every tear, in every silent night. And when you embrace that truth, when you stop resisting, when you step into your power without fear, that is when everything changes. You were not meant to blend in, you were meant to rise. You were not meant to follow the crowd, you were meant to lead. You were not meant to shrink yourself to fit the world. You were meant to expand, to grow, to become everything you were destined to be. And if that means walking alone for a while, then walk boldly. If that means standing in silence, then stand tall. Because one day, when you look back, you will understand that this moment, this very season of solitude was not the end. It was the beginning of your transformation.